record.
Hey everyone.
Wait.
Okay. Hello everyone. Hello moms and anyone caring for working with children and teens. This is the weekly Zoomcast workshop for moms. Every week we bring you speakers and experts covering topics of interest to parents. This is a community that supports the important work you are doing to raise kids. I'm Umayal Annamalai, the host for today's show. Today our show is going to come to you at 9 a.m. Pacific time, and next week we'll meet here at 4 p.m. Pacific time. We alternate between those two times since we have listeners and speakers from various time zones. Thank you for joining us wherever you live. Let me introduce our first speaker today, Marjie Hadad.
Hello.
Yeah, so I'll just give a short intro about her. Marjie Hadad is an international public relations expert, the general manager of Must Have Communication and Consulting. Marjie is an author, an award-winning TV producer, as well as a coach and speaker on how to apply public relations strategies to parenting, life, and careers. Yeah, you can go ahead, Marjie.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that introduction, and hello, fellow moms out there from all over the world. It's an absolute pleasure and delight to be in your company today. As Umayal said, I've been in public relations for 30 years, global PR. My specialty is medical, and I also have 3 grown children. And when I looked back, I understood that I had used my professional skills to parent. And that's one of the things we're going to be taking a look at today. So how do you use public relations skills to parent? Well, one of the things that we do in PR is we do a lot of writing. We write press releases and we write PowerPoint presentations and white papers and articles, and you name it, we do it. But let me ask you something as moms out there. Why do you think writing skills are important for life? Why would it be important to teach your kids writing skills? Anybody want to pipe in and share with me?
I just have a question to clarify. Are you saying why kids need to write? That helps.
I'd like to know why we think writing might be an important thing.
To communicate with the rest of the world.
To communicate with the rest of the world. Okay, that's an excellent answer.
To be able to learn, and writing may be part of their learning process, right?
To learn, exactly. How about
To be able to express themselves?
To be able to express themselves, exactly. So let me share my screen with you, if I may. We'll go to the videotape. All righty. And let's turn this into a slideshow. Okay. So I want to talk a little bit about how we can teach our kids to write and how we can support them becoming good writers, because ultimately good writing skills help us and help our children to express themselves, to advocate for themselves, to share what's on their mind, their emotion, and also to relate to other people in their lives, whether it's with fellow family members, whether it's professionally, whether it's with their teachers, whether they're applying for a job, maybe it's a teenager. And I found that it's a really good thing to start early. Now, you don't have to wait until they're in high school and in English 101 to start practicing. In first grade, 2 things happen. One's biological, and one's academic. Can anybody take a guess at what happens in first grade biologically? Come on, guys. We all have kids. What happens in first grade?
They start losing their teeth.
Yes, they do. Well done, Tracy. They start losing their teeth. Exactly. According to the Mayo Clinic website, at age 6, when they're in first grade, the teeth start to fall out. Now, in first grade, what are they learning in school?
How to read.
To read, yeah.
How to read. They're also learning how to construct a basic sentence, right? Subject, verb, direct object. My name is, So if we have the tooth falling out and they're learning how to write, the basics of putting a sentence together, what if we combine the two of them? So at our house, we encouraged our kids to write to the tooth fairy. Because the tooth fairy is somebody that we all love. And what happens when the tooth fairy comes to visit? What's the traditional protocol when your tooth falls out?
Get money under the pillow.
You put your tooth under the pillow and you go to sleep and you try to stay awake as much as you can so that you can catch the tooth fairy and you can get a glimpse of that special kind of Tinkerbell fairy coming into your room at night and maybe hovering over you with, sprinkling you with fairy dust and taking your tooth and slipping the money underneath. That's what we're all hoping for, right? Or at least when we're 6 years old. So
I do have to say, Marjorie, my daughter, as a 9-year-old, negotiated with the tooth fairy and wanted squishmallows instead of money in her letter.
absolutely. And she's a very bright person to be trying that. So what I would say, because I wanted to bring copywriting skills home to my kids, because what I do at work for a living as a public relations person is I read other people's copy all day and I edit. That's one of the functions of a PR person. So I thought, if I'm editing for work, why shouldn't I be editing my kids' stuff? So I would ask my children to advocate for themselves. Dear Tooth Fairy. And then they would fill in their name and I would help them to fill in the blanks and write a letter and help them with the spelling and help them with the content. And my husband would do it as well. And here's something cool for people who are growing up in multilingual homes. You don't necessarily only have to do it in English. You can also do it in English and in whatever other language that you might be, teaching at home or speaking or writing at home. So we live in Israel, so we would do it in English. And if I could push it a little bit further and the kids had the bandwidth, then we would do it in Hebrew too. Now, I want to tell you a story because after they would put this down on paper. Oh, and to your point, Michelle, it doesn't necessarily have to be just money. You can ask for whatever you want. We used to have chocolate in the room, in the kitchen. If we hadn't gone to the bank that day or there was nothing left, under the couch in terms of change, we would scour the house. We always had chocolate bars around, and this is actually a lovely way to give something sweet, and that's good for your teeth in comparison to the other candies out there. And what are some other ideas, some other creative ideas? Like, what was your daughter asking for?
She wanted a squishmallow, a stuffed animal.
Oh, okay, a stuffed
It's a
animal.
specific brand.
Oh, that's wonderful. That means that she had very specific interests. and she would want to advocate. So if she would actually write a letter to the tooth fairy and ask for the squish fellow, then you'd have to help her probably spell that. And she would learn.
Well, she was 9, so she was doing it herself, and she just now with these days with Alexa, they just ask Alexa how to spell something.
Oh, but you know what? Back in the day, we needed help with the spelling. Today, everything's on the iPhone or the Android or whatever you're using, right?
Right.
So I want to tell you a story. Back in the day, when I was an intern at a television station, I had this mentor who was the managing editor, and I was learning how to write news. And I would put together these horrible first drafts. And one thing we all know in public relations is that there's no such thing as the perfect first draft. And everybody, you can edit everybody, including our kids. But the way that you go about it is extremely crucial. Now, in addition to learning the mechanics of writing, what this exercise can help do is build self-esteem and help your child learn how to advocate for themselves in a really positive way. And the way to go about that is I would sit next to my children, just like I would sit next to the managing editor in the newsroom, and I would go through the text and I'd say, okay, this is a wonderful first draft. Really, really well done. Now, would you mind if I showed you another way to go about this to make it even more fabulous? So to keep it very positive, so my child would feel really good that they had a fabulous first draft and they were open to considering other ways of doing the same thing. And then I would take a pen or a marker, never red, because red is angry and fire engine, like wrong. And some beautiful color, a pink or a green or a blue or, something lovely. And I'd say, how about something like this? Or how about something like that? So after I finished editing, whether it's spelling or the grammar or sentence construction, then they had pretty colors all over the place. And then we would review it together. I would have them read it out loud. And then they would rewrite it to make it pretty for the tooth fairy. So this way they had a lovely letter. They practiced their writing skills. They practiced their grammar skills. They practiced their vocabulary. They rewrote it, so it was actually handwriting exercise. They learned how to advocate, and they felt really, really good about themselves in the process. Plus, it turned out to be a really great parent-child bonding experience because they had mommy or daddy time together. They had my 100% attention while we were doing it. We had fun. We laughed together. We made jokes along the way. And when we filled in that spot of what we wanted the tooth fairy to bring us, then like Michelle was talking about, we would kind of negotiate together to see what would be the best thing. And my kids always wanted some version of money, sometimes the chocolate, and sometimes we would come up with something different. So whatever works at your house, there's no wrong answer. It's really whatever you want to do. So ultimately, it's a really, really fun way to go about practicing writing skills early on, as early as first grade. So when you see the homework come back to the house and you see that they're practicing their writing, as soon as that first tooth falls out, or the second or the third, just keep going. Now, I have to tell you something. We continued this exercise in our house way past the time where the kids knew the tooth fairy was really not the tooth fairy. And my kids would literally stay up at night, 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, waiting for the tooth fairy to show up. And one time I snuck into my son's room to check to see if he was awake. And He said, Mom, I knew you were the tooth fairy. You're snagged. And I said, I don't know what you're talking about. I was just going to get a pen. Now, once you begin these exercises of editing your children, starting with the tooth fairy letter, you can apply this to just about any kind of rite of passage that your children go through, whether it's a religious rite of passage like a bar mitzvah or confirmation, or thank you letters to family and friends if they give you a gift, or, you know, Santa and the Easter Bunny, text messages. My daughters and my son would write me text messages, and there's autocorrect all the time. So you never quite know when they send you something, whether they understand that they made an English mistake or not. So I've been known to write back, gee, is that a horrible autocorrect? Can you please write to me again? And then they would correct it. And the good news is I would exhale and go, oh, good. They really do know what's going on. So I think the concept here is that everything is game for positive editing, so that you can show your child the way in a fun way that builds self-esteem. And then as they get older, have them fill out their own forms and oversee it. When they apply to a job, again, watch what they're doing and be their second pair of eyes, because we can always use a second pair of eyes. And when they have their college applications, or if they have a speech to give in school, if they're open to you helping, which is born from your relationship with the tooth fairy exercise, it's a wonderful opportunity to start a tradition in the house where mommy gets to be the editor in the house and help you along the way. Do you have any questions? No questions? Okay, fantastic. So that is one way to apply public relation practices to life at home and to parenting in such a way that will help your child to improve their writing skills, learn how to advocate for themselves, build self-esteem, and really strengthen what's, I'm sure, already a very strong bond between you and your child. And now I'm going to introduce the next speaker. Oh, by the way, before I forget, I have do I give the freebie now? I'm going to give a freebie. Hang on. Oops. Let me find my freebie. Here it is. There we go. Okay. So one of the things that PR people do, and that we also do at home, and I'm sure every single one of you moms out there have done this, and that is throw a party, right? Birthday parties, dinner parties, special parties, Christmas parties, every party in between. Well, when we do this professionally, I've thrown parties for world leaders and statesmen, press conferences, all the way down to spaghetti parties for my kids and everything in between. And this top 10 PR pro tip for planning the perfect party is my list, my checklist of what I do and what I think about when I'm planning all of them. So when I planned a state press breakfast for a world leader, all the way down to my kids' bar mitzvahs and Friday night dinner and everything in between. So when you're planning your next party, big or small, you will have a checklist to go through so that you know you're doing it just like the pros.
I'm so excited to check that out.
And I promise you it works. This is something that I shared with my kids. And to this day, I pass the baton and I don't do a thing. That's the best thing about this list, is that once you teach your kids how to do this, you help them with their writing skills, you help them with their planning skills, you help them with their organizational skills, you help them with their self-esteem, with their sense of independence with this list. There's a multitude of benefits to walking through this list and making your kids part of the party planning process. And the best part of all, it's really, really fun. And today I can promise you, I don't plan the parties at home. I have 3 grown children and they do it all. Maximum, I might be tasked with cutting up the vegetables. Aside from that, it's all on them. So I promise you, this is a wonderful, wonderful list. And I hope that you enjoy.
Can you give us a hint of what's on the list?
Well, yes. The first thing that you do, okay, it requires executive thinking. Whenever I would go to plan a press conference or any kind of a party, big or small, I always first choose the location. And then I go to that location and I literally look around and then I close my eyes. And I imagine what I want that party to look like. All the way down to the details. Now, interestingly enough, my daughter had just finished the military and she wanted to have a party. And she was thinking about having a party on the beach in Tel Aviv. And she was thinking about going to one of the clubs. And she and her friend called me and said, "Can you help us plan the party?" I said, "No, but I'll guide you." And I said to them, you need to choose your location first. So first, what you should do is you should go restaurant hopping and see which restaurant makes the best sense for you. And then they decided, after they went restaurant hopping on the restaurants on the beach, that the restaurants really weren't what they had in mind. After they had a visual with their own eyes. And they decided that they actually wanted to have the party on the actual beach. So then they went to the beach and they closed their eyes. And then as they did, they saw all of the things that they wanted to be there. And then they wrote their list. So that's how the list starts. And they did an absolute fabulous job. And when I say that all I do is cut the vegetables, that's all I did for that party, besides show up. So I wish all of you the same success, and that your children are able to party plan with full confidence, that they can write out their lists all on their own, and they can advocate in writing for whatever their desires are, and that they succeed in achieving them.
Can I say something? Comment?
Sure.
It's wonderful to meet you. I just loved your suggestion of the pastel colors, not red. You were so polite. I'm a classroom teacher for many years, and then I went into private practice. But in the classroom, I never used red.
Bravo.
Red is the X's. And I was in a good situation with a small number of kids. My corrections, like in grade 1, 2, and 3, took the form of marking all the ones in blue or green or whatever, various colors, but never red. I just love you saying that, because I'd mark all the ones that were correct, and anything that wasn't right, they had to hunt. Well, why didn't they get another check? And I'd write the total like 8 out of 10 checks. So they had to hunt for the other 2, but it wasn't X and it wasn't red. Yeah, like I really appreciated that. And then
Thank
this is
you.
brilliant. The concept of what you're doing. I was hot on birthdays, writing birthday invitations, right? But I'm looking forward to your handout for parties, because getting kids to do that, it's excellent. And your book, is it out yet? It's coming out.
It's out. I mean, you can pre-order it now.
Oh, beautiful. Do we
And
have a
it will-
link for it? Or is it on Amazon?
It is on Amazon.
Can we get the link for the, those two links that she's talking about for the party and
Yeah.
the book?
Should I put them in the chat?
Yeah, let's see.
I'll look forward to inviting you to come to talk to my parents once I get my Facebook group going. Yeah, that's great.
I think the bottom line is that we want to instill our children with self-esteem. And I think that we take natural opportunities to do that. And making a party is a really natural opportunity from a multitude of angles. We just discussed a couple of them, party planning today and the writing. And with the writing, that's something that we do every single day. You know, we write emails. The kids are writing emails. My children only correspond in the academics by email and by text message and by WhatsApp. Yeah. And it's so important that what we have to say is received the way it is intended. So the word choice, the tone in our word choice, how we phrase things is crucial to being able to advance. Absolutely. So, you know, you say, oh, it's a letter to the tooth fairy, no big deal. Well, guess what? It's a huge deal, because at that age, at first and second grade, that is when you're at your most impressionable times, when you're little, and you really, really hope that the feedback is positive. And even if the draft is horrible, it so doesn't matter. And I would tell my kids, let me tell you something. I look at copy from company owners, top CEOs, and I've never seen a perfect first draft. What I have seen is wonderful thoughts. And look how wonderful your thoughts are. So you always find something positive to say and have them understand quite clearly that it's okay to be edited. And then that way you start a process of, you know what? It's okay if I don't get it right the first time. And I'm going to keep trying and trying until I get it right. And that's okay. And that also builds resilience. And that's a lifetime skill that is so important, not only to success, but to happiness, in my opinion.
Yeah. And you encourage it at that early age, and you can get, you know, people that are actually do have an affinity for journaling their feelings. You know, many of us do, and you can, you know, get them, you know, I used to get them doing their feelings, you know, and yeah, some of them would pour it out in grade 2, you know, and don't worry if it isn't perfect, we'll make it better later, you know, just do it. And
absolutely. And it's okay if it's not perfect. I mean, even in anything that we write, even once it's finished, we might even come back to it 6 months later after it's been finished and handed in, and we'll still find something. And you know what? So what? It's still great. It's all good. Yeah. You know? And having the confidence to try and continue to try and to improve your craft, that's what's important. It's the trying, it's the experience, it's the journey. It's not whether it's perfect. It's never about being perfect.
Right. Having fun and enjoying it.
Amen. The journey.
Well, I think these are good tips for teachers, and I'm a teacher too. So we are pushing writing so much more in our schools here, you know, in the US. I mean, starting at kindergarten. So it is considered an important skill for sure.
Yeah.
I hope so. You know, I have to tell you, when I was growing up and my writing skills were terrible, and I got negative reinforcement. my guidance counselor told me, first of all, I got marked in red all the time, which made me feel terribly. And my guidance counselor told me that I would never be a writer and that maybe I shouldn't go to college. Well, I ended up going to Boston University and I have a master's degree in international relations, and some of my coursework was done at Harvard University. So shows you what she knew. So what I say to all those moms out there and to our community here, look for the sunshine in your child. And whatever they express an affinity towards, even if they're not good at it, support them, back them, because they may be good at it at some point. Everybody has to start somewhere.
It's so tragic though, in terms of what's happening in the schools, you know, I mean, that's why I got out. I tried several different grade levels, but the damage that is done, you know, is the damage that is done. You know, I was strapped in grade 2. I totally was shut down. Of course, I was dyslexic. That didn't help. But, you know, I was totally shut down in grade 1. My teacher was just nothing but negative. And you know, I was nothing but maybe that's why I ended up in teaching. I never considered teaching because of the hell that I went through in school. You know, because I knew I was wonderful. I knew I was smart, but I just get beaten down. You know.
Marjie, I love that you said, look at the sunshine though, because I think
Look at the sun.
that really like defined the relationship with my son though, because I was always focused that he didn't have friends or focus on the negative parts, like that he just wasn't. As soon as I started focusing on the cooking and the things that he was, our relationship just grew, and like I just want to support him, and I point that out to him, and just let's just focus on things you do want to do, and the other stuff will come as he sees it fit. I mean, there's certain things you do have to help with skills, but when you do start focusing on the positive stuff, they start to develop even more.
Yep.
Absolutely. And even if it doesn't happen to be something that you're good at, because my kids are good at things that I'm actually not good at, and that's okay. So I found somebody who was good at it to help them along the way.
He's a much better baker than me already, and he's 12. I already, hands down, you're better.
Well, I
Yes.
just wanted to ask Marjie, when you felt like you weren't a writer, so where did you find it within yourself, or what was a turning point for you to decide, yes, you can do that?
I was sitting in my guidance counselor's office in high school, and I decided I had wanted to take a class in advanced grammar and composition because I thought the teacher of that particular course was really cool and I wanted to learn. And my guidance counselor told me, you shouldn't take that course because you don't score well on your tests. And I have this I had a personality even back in high school where if somebody challenged me, I'd say in my head, I'm going to prove you wrong. So I said, Mrs. whatever her last name was, I respect your opinion, but I would like to take the course anyway. And so I did. And I learned so much. I went into that class literally knowing hardly anything. And I came out of that class knowing so much, I can still diagram a sentence until today. And you're talking 40 years later, okay? So it was an incredible experience. And then I did go to college and I went to Boston University, like I told you. And what was interesting, now here's the cool PS to it. My sophomore year, my writing teacher called me up at the end of class. I thought I was in trouble. And he said, listen, we have a tutorial room and we would like you to go and be a tutor in the tutorial room to teach writing. I almost passed out. 2 years earlier, I'm being told I would never be a writer. And here I am being asked by a college professor to teach writing skills.
Right on.
So, and it continued. And I was a journalist, a TV journalist for many years, and eventually became the spokesperson for the Israeli government during the Oslo Accords. So that obviously required a lot of writing. And then when I came to Israel in January 1995, I was in the policy planning department, and I wrote the background papers for the bilateral track discussions, as well as speeches for the diplomats. So I guess I know how to write after all these years. And I'm very excited about the book, and I hope, truly, genuinely hope that it helps all the moms out there with a new approach, a new way of thinking to handle the question that we all ask ourselves: how on earth do I handle that? And when it comes to writing, think about the Tooth Fairy story and the stories that you heard today.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. And now I have the most wonderful pleasure to introduce Umayal. Did I pronounce that right?
Yeah, Umayal.
Umayal. I had a 50-50. Okay, Umayal. Now let me tell you about Umayal, because she's really cool. Umayal is a multi-passionate creator, visual artist, creative catalyst, joy architect. I would love to know what a joy architect is. And a mother of 2 boys, 14 and 18. So she has a very, very busy household. She loves the messy, magical, and mystical creative processes. She had a creative calling, which urged her to dive deeply into a healing journey to rediscover her true, authentic self. And in doing this, she has created and exhibited her artwork. Have a look at behind her. That's not by chance. At various exhibits, and won some really prestigious awards. And we're all very proud of her. Umayal's mission is to guide other women to step into their authority and unlock their creative energy. Without further ado.
Mhm. Yeah, thank you, Marjie, for your talk and your tips for encouraging kids to write more. Yeah, I really loved your talk and your tips. Thank you, and thank you for introducing me. Yeah, my name is Umayal. Yeah, I'm a visual artist. So today I wanted to talk about like how creativity can help moms to bring more balance and to gain more time and energy. So what do you think, like how creativity can help us? What does creativity mean to you? You can just type it in the chat, or yeah. So what does it mean being creative? Yeah, expression, yeah, exploring our imagination. Yeah, that's right. So yeah, in my journey, like I felt expressing my emotions in art like helped me to be more in present with myself. Like how can I be more calm? So I teach about like emotional skills and emotional mastery, how to help our kids to regulate their emotions through art and creativity. So like every other thing, we need some time every day to express ourselves through creative. We can do writing, art, or whatever the kids feel like. So how we can like support them to express freely. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. So I share my slide. So yeah, so when moms take time for themselves, like I teach about like creative play. So how when we take time to play with the materials, like art materials, we can like reclaim our time and energy. So many moms I have met, they told like they feel like exhausted or like tired all the time. So type yes in the chat if you have felt as a mom like exhausted and tired all the time. Yeah, because of the to-do lists in our list of things that we need to do. Like moms always forget about taking care of themselves. They put others first. Yeah, I have done that many times, like taking care of everyone's needs, and we put ourselves last in the list, and we felt like so tired and exhausted all the time. So like taking time for myself, like, and expressing my feelings in art helped me to like be more calm and be present with myself. So that's why I wanted to like share with you. So my name is Umayal. So yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I'm Umayal, so visual artist, and I also like coach moms how to like put themselves first, and like how to empower their kids through creativity. So yeah, that's what I do. And yeah, so yeah, creativity, like how we can like give ourselves that time and permission to express ourselves. So when we go out in nature, so nature is a great inspiration for me. So whenever I go out in nature, whenever I take a walk, I just like feel so one with the nature, and I just observe nature, and I try to like express those feelings in my art. Like I love trees, flowers, and other things. So that's how I like started to because I'm not like a born artist or anything. So I developed that muscle, the creative muscle. So I studied in India. So my parents were like so focused on like studying, like we are so into that culture of like, we have to be like my parents wanted me to be a doctor. So I was so focused on studies. So I didn't like have that much opportunity to express myself creatively when I was young. So I studied architecture, and I worked as an architect for like a year or two. So I was so focused on that structure, or that left brained, like we have to do things in order. And I was like a very good girl, like whatever my parents told me to do, I will do. Like girls always have to be nice to others, or things like that. So I started to like suppress my feelings instead of like expressing it. So that created like a lot of I suppress my anger, like mainly that anger, or the girls shouldn't like show their anger or things outside. They have to be nice and kind to others. So all of that created like I started to suppress, and that caused like depression. Like after I had my kids, after a year or two, like I wanted to be with them all the time. Like I wanted to give everything to them, but I couldn't like emotionally connect with them. So I didn't know how to connect with them, to be really with them. I was like a zombie mom. Physically, I was there with them, but emotionally, I wasn't able to like connect with them. So art helped me like after like trying different therapies and other things. One day I went for like a beginner's art class here, and I just started painting. So like moving the brush, kind of like I felt something, my energy is moving. So when I was painting, so that inspired me, that beginner's painting class inspired me to learn more. So I'm like a self-taught artist. So after that, I started making more art. I learned about different techniques, textures, and everything. So, and I started making more. And during the pandemic only, I became like a full-time artist. So I decided that art helped me to express my feelings. So I wanted to do more of that. So that's why I started making more art, and expressing my feelings in art helped me to heal myself, and those suppressed emotions that made me feel depressed. After expressing, I felt like so light and so connected with myself, and I was able to connect with my kids more deeply. Yeah, that's why how emotions help us to connect with them. And yeah, so the three keys that help us to gain more time and energy is like, first we need to like pause, and we need to, whenever we feel like overwhelmed or exhausted, so when we like pause and give ourselves that time to express our feelings, that's the first step. And then the second key would be like to create awareness and be present with our feelings. So when we acknowledge that I'm frustrated today, or I'm disappointed that the thing didn't go the way I wanted to go, and expressing them in the art kind of helped me. So yeah, we have to like let our kids know that we have to model to them that whenever I feel frustrated or like disappointed, this is what mom does. Mom needs some time too. Mom needs some time to express her feelings. So I just tell them that I'm feeling so disappointed, so I need some time for myself. So I go to my art table and I spend some time with myself to process those feelings. So I teach about more the process, creative process, instead of like focusing on the end result, like what we wanted to create. I just focus on the process, like how I'm feeling right now, and expressing that in the art kind of helps me. So yeah. And then like, first we need to like pause to check in with ourselves, like, how am I feeling today? So you can just write down like, I'm feeling disappointed, or be honest with ourselves, like, how am I feeling? And accepting and allowing ourselves to feel those feelings and think about how we want to feel. Like, I wanted to feel more good about myself, or feel joy or happiness, and setting that intention and making art kind of helped me. So like, whenever I feel like so overwhelmed by all the work that I need to do, like when I'm in my head all the time, like thinking, oh, I have this many things to do, and I just take a pause, I sit with my art journal, and I just like allow myself to feel those feelings, like I'm really frustrated right now, or just write, I will write it down, and then I'll just allow myself to feel it, like 10-15 minutes, like every day, to check in with myself. That kind of really helped me. And then like, be present with our sensations. So first, pausing is for our mind. So when our thoughts are like racing, that's when we feel like so overwhelmed. So, and then be present, that's for our body. Like, we have to connect with our body and the sensations in our body, right? So where am I feeling that? Sometimes I feel like so constricted or restrictive. I feel resentful or something like that. So where am I feeling it in my body? So what I do is I just take some deep breaths. So that's what I do. I just close my eyes, and then, yeah, we can do like a small 5-minute exercise. Like, we can close our eyes and take some deep breaths, and we can like write down like how we are feeling. So yeah, we'll do that small exercise, like 3 breaths, deep breaths. Okay? You can place your hand in your belly or in your heart, wherever you want to. And I just tell myself like, I'm safe in my body. So many times I'll just like, I have like emotional disassociation. I just get out of my body and I'll be in my head all the time. So like, to tell myself to stay in my body, like I'm safe in my body. So I love myself. I'm doing the best I can. So as a mom, we forget that we are always like thinking about our kids, and we forget ourselves, like loving ourselves and having compassion for how we are feeling. That is really important. So yeah, you can just share it in the chat, like how you felt like after connecting with yourself, after taking some breaths. Yeah, share it. Yeah, you felt calmer. Yeah, yes, Michelle. So we feel calm and more connected to ourselves, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why, yeah, we always forget about like taking deep breaths. Always we are just running around, and taking time to like sit down with our feelings is really important. Yeah. So yeah, next. So after that, yeah, the third key is like expressing it in the art. So yeah, this is what like I teach about play, creative play. So we have to like inquire about our feelings and the reflection. The art is more about like the perspective, how we are looking at things. And when we are in our head all the time, like we'll be like so confused. So, and coming to our body and expressing it will help us to feel more relaxed and more calm. So just whatever you have in hand, like markers, crayons, you have it in hand, right? Taking those and just scribbling in the paper is also like you're letting it out instead of like in your mind, you have to let it out. So accepting and allowing ourselves to make a mess. So yeah, I love to make mess. I just put some colors on paper or like acrylic inks or something like, and I just love to spread those colors. So that will like help me to move that stuck energy inside me. So yeah, that is really important, like having a good time and playing with the materials. So yeah, to liberate and to explore our own identity other than parenting. So when we are like so focused on our kids, on parenting, we just lose our focus, right? So play kind of helps us to pause, and the L is for like letting go of our thoughts in mind, and like accepting ourselves, and Y is to say yes to life. And creativity is about like imagination, having fun, right? So when we let ourselves to have fun and play, we'll be like more calm, relaxed, and we'll gain that clarity and focus. So we know our priorities. We'll be able to like focus and prioritize things and needs. Yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to like connect with your inner child, or as a kid, what is your favorite way of expressing yourself? Like dancing, music, or singing, or what was your favorite way? Yeah, you can type it in the chat, or you can like tell me your favorite way to express yourself. Yeah. Yeah, dancing and singing, and yeah. That's great. Yeah. So as a kid, like we didn't have so many restrictions or anything. We had all the time in the world to express ourselves. So we didn't think about anything, and we were free to express ourselves. So as we grow into adults, we become like so serious about life, and we forget that playfulness. So like through art, how we can, drama and writing. Yeah, these are all great ways to express ourselves, right? So when we like give ourselves the time to express and have fun, we'll be like in a better mood, and we'll be able to guide our kids also. Like we have to be like a role model. And so when we show them like how we can express ourselves, like I have like a small corner in my house where I have all supplies, like my paints and everything. Whenever my kids feel like so frustrated or angry, I tell them like, you can go to the creative corner and you can express your anger or however you're feeling. Sometimes they just like scribble on paper, or sometimes my younger son, he likes like cutting or like gluing. So I have like magazine papers or something there, some crayons, some other materials to color. Everything will be on that corner. So whenever they feel so frustrated or something, I just encourage them to like express them in the art. So we have to show them the healthy way to like regulate their emotions, so that they'll be like more present with their feelings. Yeah. As a kid, they might like feel when they are angry, or when they are like, when the big feelings comes, they won't know, right? So what is the best way to like express? So yeah, art can help them to like calm. And yeah. So I teach about like colors and how colors can help us. Colors carry frequency. So each color has a meaning. Like I teach about the chakra healings, and for each chakra, they have like a color. So, and I encourage moms to like use colors to like lift their energy. So whenever they are feeling, red is about passion, love, boldness, right? So, and orange is like optimism, yellow and orange is like feeling so optimistic. So whenever we choose colors intentionally and we do some artwork, so taking a marker, yellow marker and scribbling on the paper might like lift your energy. So like connecting with that color energy will like kind of help us to move those stuck feelings and energy inside us. So making art and playing with colors like rewires our brain and like gives us the opportunity to live as possibilities. Yeah. And I teach about the creative superpower, like how we can be like our own, how we all have our superpower. So when we like take time to express our feelings in art, and when we like practice, we need more practice, right? So creativity is a skill that you can cultivate, right? So you need to give yourself the time, the compassion for yourself, the dedication. So you will be able to like connect with that inner artist inside you. So we all are like creative. So when we give ourselves that time to express our feelings in art, we can like connect with that inner genius, and that will empower us to be more mindful and to guide our kids. Yeah. So yeah, I offer like a free gift. I teach them, I give moms tools to like how to connect with their feelings and how to express their feelings in art journal. And I also offer like a free 30-minute session, how we can like ignite our creativity and create balance. So knowing our needs. So moms first need to know about their needs, what they want to create in life, and how they can create boundaries. I teach about creating boundaries through art. So when we know like what we need and we create boundaries, and it's not like prioritizing me over the others, like how we can find a win-win for everyone, like what are the child's needs, what is our need, and how we can all bring together as a family. So yeah, I teach about balance and like how creatively we can like express ourselves. That's what I teach about. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, if you have any questions, yeah, ask me.
I was curious, do you teach like different ways to use the chakras for creation, or you just use the colors of the chakras to express yourself, or both?
Yeah, colors of the chakra to express ourselves. Yeah. And one more thing, like I wanted to show you a small video of like how I do that. Yeah, so annual, this is my art journal. So yeah, this is what I do. Like I take like if you have like a watercolor pencils, so you can like just write down like I'm feeling frustrated, or just, this is what I do. Like first I just check in with myself, I'm feeling frustrated or something, I just write down whatever is in my mind. Or sometimes if I don't feel like writing also, I just like scribble with a watercolor pencil, and then I just take a simple brush, and then I just use some water. So this is how it's like transforming, right? We are like writing our feelings, and then we can like see how it like moves, how the brush moves that, and we don't see it right now, right? So just 5 or 10 minutes we can like take to express our feelings through color and art. Yeah. So yeah, I'll just write down the thing and just spread. And this is like, if you have just a markers, just take some markers and write down like how you want to feel. I want to feel more love, abundance, and joy. So I just took a marker, like a orange marker. And like, instead of pushing, I just start from the center and like pulling, like this energy, pulling energy. How from the center we are drawing, like we have the resources inside us. So like, I just do that, like drawing hearts, like I'm the queen of my heart, like I have the power to change how I feel. So just taking some markers and writing down or using some watercolor pencils to express our feelings in our art journal can like help us. Yeah.
I actually find that extremely fascinating
Mhm,
because at first, at the beginning of your presentation, I'm
Mhm.
looking looking at all the beautiful work that you've created
mhm,
and noticing the detail.
mhm,
And my first question to myself was, well, what if you're not good at art? And now what I'm seeing from from looking at your art journal,
mhm,
how to pull, first of all, the concept of the art journal, as opposed to a classic writing journal.
mhm,
But the good news is those of us who are art challenged, okay,
mhm. Yeah.
I think I failed kindergarten art, I can do stick figures,
Mhm,
but you just showed us
mhm,
that whether you are good, talented, or, not as talented at art,
mhm.
that it's certainly a healthy way to channel
Yeah.
energy and maybe go from a darker place to a lighter place on those particularly challenging days
Mhm.
where it seems like the sky is falling.
Yeah. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, it's like a safe space, right? When we don't have anybody to talk to or to express our feelings, we can just come to our journal and we just
My
express.
point is that you don't have to be an artist to be an artist.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
I think you just freed me a little bit as well, because when I like had started nature journal, I feel like I have to do so detailed each page, and I don't do very many because of that. But I think being
Mhm.
able to, the way you express yourself and the feelings like that, frees it up to like be more often, leading to more
Yeah.
versus just every great once in a while.
Mhm. Yeah. Mhm.
So
Yeah.
thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. So yeah, thank
Oh,
you everyone.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I finally, I've been trying to get to one of your sessions, several times. And I
Yeah.
just got a little blurb of one of your sessions and I desperately wanted to see you again. And here I am, finally.
Yeah.
The creative corner is
Mhm.
it's just gorgeous.
Yeah.
And it's okay to
Mhm.
be not okay. You can go in there and like Margie was saying,
Mhm.
like for the anger. I mean,
Mhm.
with my kids in when I'm with my kids, like cutting up paper, like you got the magazines.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you have some scissors there. If you want to just go in there and cut up some paper, or if you want to crunch up some paper, or if you want to
Yeah.
rip up some paper, right? Like for
Mhm.
kinesthetic learners, that just drawing may not just be enough right now. I mean,
Mhm.
it's just dynamite stuff, and to get your feelings out. I mean, that's
Mhm.
I was just shut down in this stuff. I was shut down in art by grade 2.
Uh-huh.
And then I like I say, to this day I can't draw a straight line with a ruler, but I'm getting there through you. I tried it, just I have blank pages and I'll
Mhm.
sometimes do it, like when I get actually quite anxious and stuff. And then the different colors affect you.
Mhm.
Right? Bring in the pastels, like Marjorie was saying, the different
Mhm.
colors will calm you, and we know
Yeah.
that. And we know
Mhm.
the importance of letting it out. I mean, all the research says the worst thing we can do is repress, right? We become
Mhm.
chronically ill later in life.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
dynamite, Umayal, just dynamite. I love you
Mhm.
to bits.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about doing just doesn't even have to be in a journal, just a piece of paper, is that
Yeah.
you're putting yourself out of the left brain and into the right brain, which is
Yep.
a totally different place to express yourself. And we just don't develop that as much, but yet that's where flow is.
Yeah.
And all of
Mhm.
those things are there, but we
Mhm.
deny ourselves that because it's like fluff, or we don't know how, or we're not good. And especially among women, like
Mhm.
Willa Doreen, you said you sat down at 2nd grade, that
Yeah.
girls really tend to, because they get very critical and judging their stuff instead
Mhm.
of just enjoying it.
Mhm.
And that has a profound effect. I mean,
Mhm.
all through life, that stuff rattles around inside of you.
Yeah.
But you know where you see it expressed, even though you think you can't draw a stick figure, you see it expressed at craft fairs.
Yep.
Because that creativity has to come out and be expressed.
Mhm.
And those things are just amazing to go to and see what women are doing. Even though they think they can't draw and they're not
Mhm.
good at art, it still comes out in fascinating ways.
Mhm. Yeah. That is
Those
right.
of us who cannot draw
Mhm.
have the most amazing respect level for those who can.
Mhm.
And we can appreciate, especially when we can't do it ourselves. All of my kids actually are very, very good artists. And my husband and I have an appreciation for artwork,
Mhm.
but and especially because I can't reproduce it. I literally stick figure. So really all the respect and thank you
Mhm.
for showing us how to use this approach,
Mhm.
artists or not artists. I think that's kind of like your key message here, that
Yeah.
this applies to everyone, no matter what. It's just take a pencil or a marker or watercolors or what have you,
Mhm.
and just do your thing.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. For many of us, like when we are kids, like when our art teacher or somebody told, because they all think art has to be perfect. Yeah. The perfectionism, that's what,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, keeps
Oh,
us
yeah.
not judging. And yeah. That's why I teach them about like how to like calm the inner critic and to like express ourselves more.
And the most damaging thing, you know, like a kindergarten teacher sitting there. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not beating up on teachers, but I am. Like a
Yeah.
kindergarten teacher that sits there and says to the, you know, a kid comes up and, you know, and the kindergarten sits there and says, "What is that?" You know, you don't ask what is that. You say, "Oh, tell me about it."
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it could be anything. Like
Yeah.
you look at it, you haven't got a clue what it is. So what is that? That's the most damaging thing in the world. The child may not even know. He may be writing about, you know, and whatever he wants to say, whatever it is, it's
Mhm.
wonderful. But you
Yeah.
don't say, what is that? It has to be something, right? And
And that same kid is going to produce an oil painting someday that's going to be
yes,
in the
yes,
booth.
yes, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
And I
you
think
know,
with my anger, half the time, nobody knew what it was, right? I was angry. Oh, dear.
you know what? Being a teacher is a very hard job. It's a very difficult thing to be able to control a classroom of little kids.
Oh, it
But
is.
that
I know.
said, the teachers can take a page from all of these trainings that
Yes, yeah,
we have on this call.
yeah,
And I think that one of the wonderful things about life is that we all have room for improvement, no matter
Yeah.
where we are.
yeah,
And we can grow and expand and
yeah.
be our best selves.
Mhm. Yeah.
Thank you so much. That was a wonderful presentation. I love it.
Yes, it was gorgeous.
Mhm. So yeah, we'll go to our next speaker for today is Michelle. So Michelle holds a MA in education, spending 8 years dedicated to the classroom before having her own family, 3 active kids. She participated in various mom groups, ran a few, even joined some book clubs, but envisioned something different. Michelle found herself looking around, wondering what she liked to do anymore that didn't involve the kids' activities. As she worked to discover her own passions, Michelle realized there is no one size fits all program for moms getting back in touch with themselves. The true key to figuring out your passion and making your goals happen is finding connection in a supportive environment. Therefore, her new mission is to help other mamas find their passions in a supportive, empowering environment surrounded by grace while being more present with their families. Michelle has started spreading this message through YouTube, Instagram, and her blog called Connecting Mamas. Yeah, so we welcome you, Michelle. Yeah.
Thank you for that nice introduction, Umayal. And thank you so much for opening my eyes to art and just possibilities of being able to create more rather than being so, it has to be perfect. And I think that's what it's all about, is that the imperfection of motherhood, the imperfection of what we're doing, but learning the best and doing the best we can, what we have. On that note, I'm going to share my screen, and I'm trying something new this time. So I just put the link in the chat because I wasn't sure I was going to do this. But if you guys can see, I have put a workbook in for today. So you guys can just click on the link if you want. So there's a quick workbook and I'm just throwing it in there, but it is there. And now we're going to move on to my presentation. So on that note, I believe you might start with this as well. We have a lot of parallels between our messages. And we're looking at this chart that I took from Permission to Feel by Mark Brackett. We always do want to check in where we are at. So we want to see where we start something and sometimes where we finish something. So that's where I have you check in with this presentation and saying, where are you at this moment? And you can write that in the workbook if you have downloaded that. So for right now, the two presentations before me actually put me at a lot more ease with the breathing, and the ideas of creativity just got the juices flowing. And so I'm kind of excited just to be here and share the stage with the two of them. And take a moment to say, where are you? You can feel free to put it in the chat, except that I can't see the chat right now. Where did it go? There it is. Okay. So you can feel on mute or put in the chat. I'll give you a second to identify where you're at the moment. Any feelings out there? Everyone's all already feeling out, right? Calm. We got calm. Umayal is calm. She just finished her presentation. She's ready to sit back and listen. We're going to have some fun. So again, always want to welcome you to a safe space. Whatever we say remains with us in this space, that we're able to be ourselves and just be open to new ideas and possibilities in this space, just like we got some from our previous two speakers, and Marjorie, who's happy as well. And so I just want everyone to put their arms up in the air and say congratulations to yourself because you showed up. We always forget to congratulate ourselves. You showed up and it's time to rediscover your spark a bit. And we need to remember that we need to congratulate ourselves in every moment that we move forward, because it's baby steps. And we have to remind ourselves to even tell ourselves that we did a good job, which I must admit that is one of my biggest struggles. So force it every time with you ladies as well. So I'm congratulating myself for showing up for you and being here to present. And this slide just loves to keep going because it's an awesome slide. And so it brings us right into smile time, because smiles increase your mood enhancing hormones while decreasing stress hormones, including that cortisone and adrenaline, for reducing our overall blood pressure, activating our happy hormones, those endorphins. So when our brain feels happy, we smile. When we smile, our brain feels happier. So even if we're not happy at the moment, simple gesture of indicating to your brain that you move your lips up, even if you have to fake it to make it that moment, it does change that brain pattern in you. So I'm going to hit play one more time, and we're all just going to smile together till the end of the course. Again, a cute baby, how can you not smile? He makes me laugh too. But just that feeling sends those messages to your brain. And so it helps to your brain tell you what you're doing. And you get to control that. It's you telling your brain, let's make this shift. Let's do something different. So I am Michelle DeKeyser. My passion is to create connection and community. Support moms who have given so much of themselves. Moms out there, you have picked one of the hardest jobs there is, but let's do it and support each other together. Some of the things I love to do are travel, and I've rediscovered my love of learning, which has brought me here to teach a little bit as well. And I love creating. So I want to create community and create messages to share with fellow moms. So my biggest focus in my life right now is learning to be present in the moment, wherever I'm at. So right now it's being present with you. Even though my 3 kids are off on a snow day today, I've put them in separate corners of the house. So it's actually been an hour and a half and they are quiet so far. We'll call that a win. Speaking of my family, that they are, my son Liam brought me into motherhood. A little bit rough start with finding appendicitis and then a hernia all within the same 3 months. And just that shift that you had, all of a sudden you're taking care of a new life. But a few years down the road, too soon. A few years down the line, you just start to realize you've made these changes along the way. you've all of a sudden made decisions like I decided that I have to stay home. I can't ask for help. I can't do these things. Every time I made those little decisions, all of a sudden I woke up and it was actually 2020, September 1st of 2020. It was that day that we decided to homeschool my kids, as well as I started to take this program called the 75 Hard. Now, the reason I did it was because I just felt like I was living in a fog. I felt like this brain fog over me. Like, I want to enjoy my kids. I want to do something with them, but I felt like I didn't have any energy. I felt tired. I didn't feel like I knew what I wanted to do. I just felt really listless. What I did with the spare time, because as the kids were starting to get a little bit older, I found pockets of times, there'd be 15 minutes here. Next thing I knew, I was an hour into Candy Crush, or I was an hour into a show that I didn't even necessarily want to watch, but I was watching because I didn't know what to do with my time. And so I felt that listlessness. And it was actually Liam's third grade teacher at the time who I'd become friends with that posted that she had just finished this program. So I decided I'm going to jump into 75 Hard. We're going to homeschool the kids because of COVID and things going on, that we decided to homeschool them. But it was a look at my husband's face when he said, oh, this is another one of her programs. Another one of those things she was never going to finish. And all of a sudden the days start ticking away. And I start to finish the first 75 days. And then I go through the 3 phases throughout the year. And so this is the end result of going through from September 1st of 2020 all the way to 8/31 of 2021. However, when I got to phase 3 on day 25, so 5 days away from finishing this, it's a program where if you don't do every single one of your ticks, you're supposed to start over. So like, for instance, you have your diet, you have your 2 45-minute workouts. One of the things was take your picture. And so I'd done everything else. I must have fallen asleep reading my book. And I woke up at 2:30 in the morning and had not taken my picture. I was like, what do I do? Here's a look on my face. When I woke up at day 25 of phase 3, like, uh-oh. I woke up my husband. I was so mad. And I came back to the realization at that point, like I almost gave up. I almost said, I'm not going to finish it. I ended up finishing in 5 days. But the key was, it wasn't about necessarily the goal. And I think the end point. Because when I start to look back, I mean, if I look at these pictures, it's not even just the weight loss, it's the habits, it's the learning again, it's figuring out what I want to do with my time. It's the confidence that I was gaining from who I was becoming. And that's what I started to realize. It's almost like hindsight now that this was actually a good thing for me to have like that light switch, like you can do more, that it's not necessarily about that goal, that end goal, but it's about who you're becoming and the journey along the way. And so that leads me to these feelings right here. What does this invoke in you? Go ahead and throw that in the chat. This is actually probably how I was feeling on day 25 of Heart 75. But it's realizing what we need to do and how do we figure out what those emotions are and to move forward. So exhausted, frustrated, and just feeling that you don't feel like you're a great parent or a mom at that moment in time. The kid's there and you're just like, oh. That's when we need to take a breathe moment, right? Umayal also was talking about breathing. Now, the one thing when I first was learning about breathing, I didn't realize, the really good thing about breathing is the one action that our body does automatically, but at any point that we so choose, we can take control of it. And as soon as we let go of control, it'll go back to automatic, but we can control our breath. It can help us change our state when we are giving back to ourselves the control. When you breathe deeply, you send a message to your brain to calm and relax. Now, this is a part that I don't know if anyone else felt that a little bit confused by, but as we start to sit as adults, our breathing actually starts to go backwards. So if you look at a child, the belly expands as you inhale. And as you inhale, it's supposed to expand. As you exhale, it goes back in. But our automaticness is somewhere along the lines with all the sitting and stuff, our body starts to do it backwards. And so we might not realize that, or it might not have happened to you, but it happens to many adults from all the sitting and stuff that we do is as we go inhale, our belly goes in. And so it took me the longest time to figure out which direction it was even supposed to go when I'm doing all these breathing classes. I didn't even realize I was doing it quote unquote wrong in terms, because when you do it the proper way, it's actually bringing more air into your diaphragm and actually filling you up more. So put your hands on your belly, so you can feel it, that when you breathe in, your belly actually goes out. And if it doesn't, because it could be that your body automatically does it the opposite way from all our sitting. So we want to practice that when we are doing any sort of breathing, making sure that our belly is going out when we breathe in. So let's just do 3 breaths together just to practice and make sure. Go. And then as you release, it goes back in. 2 more. And last one. And I've been doing all these breathing work and techniques, and I kept going, which way is it? Which way is it? But it's a good thing to recognize, because and if yours does it the right way, that congratulations, that's great. For many of us, it has switched on us without us even knowing it. If you look at a baby, they do it automatic the right way. But somewhere from all this sitting, it starts to change. So I did a mom survey on feelings about friendship. One of the things that really stuck out to me was this first line right here. I'm probably the most disconnected to moms and other human beings that I've ever been. I don't know if any of you feel that way as well. But what people do want from some sort of friendship or connection is someone who's not going to judge them, someone who's going to support them and be positive, that they're not afraid to call them out when they feel like they're not living to their potential, acknowledging the same struggles and difficulties. Now, there's a difference between acknowledging struggles and talking about struggles and that complaint fest. Because I've noticed when I was in mom groups, like all of a sudden it was at the table, like you had to complain to belong to the table. All of a sudden it was like someone says something about their husband, like, oh, who can top whatever their husband doesn't do the most, right? And it becomes this complaining circle. So we're not talking about that. Yes, we have struggles. And yes, you might say that your husband's not doing this, but it doesn't indicate that that's what you have to say to belong to everyone. We're going to acknowledge our struggles, but try to work through them, not live in them. That's the big difference. We want ongoing support, encourage, and active listening through a lens of compassion, not fix it. We don't need to fix each other. We need to listen to each other and give them the space to talk it out enough so they figure it out for themselves. We don't need to judge. We don't need to come up with their solution. We might give advice if asked. We don't need to just throw it in there. Women tend to put themselves low on the priority list. I know I do. Anyone else out there? So it's hard to connect with other moms when everyone else is coming first, right? How many moms have their kids everywhere on the schedule? Have they scheduled themselves in there? Probably not. We don't give ourselves the time. So I love Brene Brown. She says, I can be myself when I know that I'm with people who recognize the inextricable, unnameable spiritual connection that is shared humanity, because belonging is not in jeopardy. So when you're with a group of people, asking yourself, how do I belong here? Like, do I feel like I belong? For me, for those mom groups where it became a complaining fest, I didn't feel like I belonged because I didn't want to sit in that complaining. I didn't even at that point feel like I had anything to complain about my husband. I didn't even want to, but I felt like to sit at this table, that was something that was expected of me. I don't know if any of you have been in that situation. So we want to find groups where we feel that we belong there without that feeling of expectation of something you might need to do that you don't want to do. That's what we're looking for. So how do we do that? That's the big question. How do we connect, right? So for my framework, we go through the process of check-in. So we're going to start a little bit of that today. We're not going to go through the whole process, but we have curiosity, honesty, expectation, connection, keep listening, and intentional now. And that's how we make that connection back. So why do we start with curiosity? According to Robert Strope, director of Jeremiah English Speaking, 3-year-olds on average ask parents 100 questions a day. Can you guys attest to that? Kids, they're going to ask yet another question I can't answer anymore, right? By 11, they pretty much stopped. Get to middle school, they've been told so much that they're just trying to figure out answers. They stop asking their own questions. So by the age of 25, only 2% of the people are thinking outside the box. We don't really actually want that to happen. We want to encourage our kids to use their creativity and to think outside the box, right? That's what we always say, right? But how do we actually do that? Curiosity dies in childhood. Somewhere around from 3 to 11, we start squashing it. So I'm asking moms to start with curiosity by asking, what is one thing I enjoy today? What is one thing I will enjoy tomorrow? Now, the problem is for us moms is we stop thinking about what are things we like to do. For instance, I want to take Umayal's idea today to go draw something to my daughter and just spend some time doing that again. And she sparked that idea to me because I'm opening my idea to curiosity and asking myself that question. More and more is coming in, as we're going to get to in a minute. So what happens if we do feel stuck? The good thing is you guys are all moms. And you have little children running around who are asking all those questions. So start looking through their eyes. See, look through her eyes, through her lens, and get low with them. Start seeing, what are they curious about? How are they doing things? How are they discovering things? Just start spending your time looking through their eyes. Now, the one thing I do want to caution you to is, as moms, we feel like there's a whole bunch of things we have to do with our kids, right? How about start looking at the things that you actually like doing with your kids? For example, with Bella, I like drawing. She's the bigger drawer of the three of my kids. With Liam, we like talking about his cooking things and how he might turn that into a YouTube station, or things like finding interests that they have that I actually want to do with them. Now, they were downstairs playing school earlier. Do I want to do that? No. So that's not where I'm going to focus. I want to spend genuine quality time with things that I also want to do, and you actually make those more genuine connections. So you want to pick one 10-minute activity that you will do for your own enjoyment and when you're going to do it. So you're going to mark it down. Either you're going to do it today at 5 o'clock, you're going to do it as soon as the kids go to bed, or maybe you decide to do it with one of your kids. It doesn't have to be that it has to be just you, but it has to be something you're going to do for your personal enjoyment, not for your kids. So if you don't like drawing, don't suggest that as your thing to do with your kid. But if it's a game that you want to play with them and you're going to enjoy having fun playing with your kid doing that, then that can be it. Or maybe it's that you want a break and need a break and deserve a break, and you go pick that you're going to go color by yourself. There's some great adult coloring books. Or you're going to go write in your journal, or you're going to go read your book with your cup of coffee for 10 minutes, right? Your choice. What sparks your fancy? Just start asking that question. Why do we want to do that? Remember that these are learned behaviors. We've been so disconnected from others as well as ourselves. We stop asking ourselves the questions, what do I want to do? What do I like? It's more, what do I need to do? What am I doing for them? What are they going to get out of this? It's not what I'm going to get out of it. But it's time to take baby steps forward to that. We've learned these habits from day one. When we have that baby in our hands, all of a sudden, I can't go out with my friends. I have to nurse. I can't find a babysitter. I can't do this. I can't, right? Each I can't was another step. And not that that was necessarily bad, but a lot of that was made unconsciously. Like we didn't decide all of a sudden wake up and say, this is the person I am. We didn't necessarily decide that that was how we want to do it. It became that way of our decision making. And so especially if you're a newer mom, we want to make those decisions more conscious. I'm not saying that you need to go out with your friends all the time, but to make that decision a conscious choice. Yes, I want to have this time. And if you don't want your friends to fade away, then you will make one day where, like, my husband is, or my spouse, or whoever it is going to take care of the kid. My mom is, whoever, that you are going to make those plans. Because once you put the plans in the calendar, they're more likely to happen. Even if something comes up, you're more likely to reschedule than you are to say, oh, we're going to get together in a week. It just doesn't happen. We are moms. We are busy. But if we schedule it, even if you take today and you say a month from now, we're going to make this a monthly thing so we can just plan it into our schedule. That is more likely to happen than to say, oh, we'll get together next week, coffee sometime. Let's figure it out. It's not going to happen. Even if you have to wait a month to start this, it's better to have a plan in place now rather than to wait. Because that month is still going to come no matter what. In a month, I have a date with this person, right? I have a date with my friend. Why are we asking this? Because as soon as we start asking the question, what do we like? We start to activate that RAS system. So this is from the Neuro-Linguistic Programming Institute of California explains, all your future goals and dreams are not only a reflection of your subconscious thinking, they are also mediated by your rector activating system. So it's that little thing in your head. As soon as you get a new car, you've seen it everywhere, right? You start seeing that car everywhere. Well, as soon as you start asking yourself the question, what, and get curious about it, what do I like doing? You're going to activate this and start seeing things that you actually like doing and taking note of it. First thing is to realize that we have to take action. The RAS is part of the brain that serves as your filter between your conscious mind and your subconscious. So we don't want our subconscious to take over. We want to direct our subconscious what to look for. By asking this question, now our subconscious is going to work for us rather than to keep looking for things for the kids to do, right? Because when we're busy moms saying we're so busy, we're going to do everything for the kids, that's what our brain's looking for, is more activities for the kids, more things for them to do. more things that we don't have time for ourselves, right? As soon as we switch and say, you can take 10 minutes, start with 10 minutes this week, then maybe next week it's 15. So you get to a half an hour or whatever works for you, but it doesn't have to start at a half an hour. Our body just doesn't even like that. It wants the smaller increments. However, the society and mentality says you want the half an hour now. Well, let's be realistic. How do we make this happen? Small increment changes, not that big one. That big one is what gives us the shoulds and the can't do this, because if you put in 30 minutes right now, all of a sudden tomorrow you're like, oh, it doesn't quite work. Let's start off slow and make it a habit before we're worried about that. So we want to activate our RAS. Let's look at how intention does this. Hope, curiosity will help me figure out what I enjoy doing. Again, hope is really not the best use of your vocabulary. I hope. It's like an intention that's never going to actually happen. I want curiosity to help me figure out what I enjoy doing. Feeling a little bit better, but when you use the word intend, I intend to use curiosity to figure out what I enjoy doing. You are now sending that message to your RAS. That is your intention to look for it. And you will start to see more things because you put that intention in. That's why you always hear the word intention. Because look at how those three words together in the same sentence. Which one do you feel has the most power to it? You decide. Do you think hope has a better power to it? Then use it. I personally don't, but you do what works for you. So we come to Martha Beck, because this is ultimately what we're trying to do. To live a life is wrong for you is a form of dying. There are people who have lives that look perfect. They try to be happy. They believe they should be happy. They are trying to like it, but it's off course from their North Star. They aren't satisfied. Our true purpose in life is to find our own North Star, not someone else's. So when we look at Facebook and we see what looks like the perfect mom or the perfect family, we don't know. We don't know what went into that picture or what they're at. Or the other suggestion I ask is when you do see someone that you are envious of or something, like, rather than be envious, start your curiosity and start asking, how did they do that? Start asking them those questions and start learning from them. Maybe they end up being a mentor for you or directing you to someone who was their mentor and gets you on that path rather than living in that envious feeling like, oh, I can't do this. Or maybe you find out exactly how hard it was and you're like, oh, no thanks. Not happy. Don't want to do that at all. Again, your choice, but let's go with that curiosity and start asking more questions rather than saying, oh, well, they have it all together. They're great, and feel bad about yourself. Figure out what it took to get there, because guaranteed nothing's that easy. And it's a matter of how much you're willing to do to get there. And do you want to live a life that looks perfect that you're not happy doing? That's your choice. So we have a new mantra. I like the word mantra rather than affirmation right now, because I feel like the word mantra is something that can just speak to you and you can repeat over and over. And it's softer in terms that every time I hear the word affirmation, my husband put in the guy from Saturday Night Live, and just, I can't even think of it right now. Stuart Smalley, I believe it was. But with a mantra, it's gentle and it's something you can just use to repeat over and over to yourself. So the mantra I want to suggest for today is, I intend to use curiosity to figure out what I really enjoy doing. It's not something like, I am smart, I am brave. It's just putting it out there to get you started on the process. And maybe someday it will be replaced with, I am brave, I am strong, which I encourage as well. But where do we start? We start with the intention of what we want. And so right now we're going to use that curiosity and try to open our eyes to curiosity again. And that's why I always start with how we connect ourselves. It starts with curiosity. So your action step number 2 is keep track of what your RAS is activating. So if you want to make a list, a journal, something, a notepad on your phone, is you start to see, oh, I really like doing that. I like doing this with my kids. Take note of it. Be intentional as you look to be more curious. So wherever you make that list or journal about it at the end of the day, because as we get, one more thing before we get to that. Being vulnerable is hard, but I've learned that sharing our true, flawed, authentic selves is the only real way of connection and love can happen. It's the only way to step into our full power and purpose in our lives. So when we're being vulnerable with our own selves, admitting to ourselves that we're not sure what we like, let's admit that. Now that we've admitted it, we can start looking for it and go back to that curiosity. And we're going to celebrate ourselves for doing it. So hands up, everyone. It's time to celebrate. We are activating our RAS system. We're working on enjoyment for ourselves. Okay. Looking at what do we like to do. And so we have our to-done list, which was what I was getting to. Because at the end of the day, we don't need a to-do list. At the end of the day, you can use that list of what did I enjoy doing and say, what are some of the things I enjoyed doing today? You write that down on your journal or list at the end of the day instead of the things you didn't do. Your to-do list can be for the morning, but at the end of something, we have a to-done list. So your to-done list for this today is I can connect. I have 2 action steps right now. First, you're going to identify what's one thing you're going to do for 10 minutes, and then you keep track of the things that you start to see through your curiosity. 3, I have a new mantra. 4, you've learned what a to-done list is, and you have celebrate yourself, which is the most important thing, because each time we reinforce that feeling by celebrating ourselves that we tell our brain we want more of that instead of going through the busyness of it all. And so as I work to find my North Star and discover my whole self, there were 2 things that helped most. First, community, which is great for here, Workshop for Moms, with find that community of like-minded people to come together. Because I've noticed once you decide that you want to actually start working towards that and doing more than people around you, they start to feel that you're better than them or that you can't communicate with them anymore. And when you don't want to join the complaining fest anymore, that might be there. And so you want to make sure that you're supported by other people who are where you're at, rather than just stop because the people around you, however they feel, whatever their thing is. Just sometimes I've seen that happen. I've had that happen to myself. And so just to be aware of it, and maybe it won't happen to you, but just it might. And so just to be open to it. And then to find that mentor, like I said, instead of asking and being jealous of what other people have, look at someone who's already done that and start asking questions to how to get there. And that's the whole thing, is having the people to support you and the mentor to give you guidance to it and looking for the one that fits you. Great thing about Workshop for Moms is there's so many different mentors and speakers in here that you can connect with the one that speaks to you the best and learn from them. And the community can help support you. And so connecting mamas, my big thing is grace. So mamas igniting passion by growing from grace and connection. When mamas gather with the intention of offering grace, magic happens. Grace allows us to get through the tough times together because we lift each other up. Giving grace for making mistakes as we learn to do better. Giving grace for working to embrace our differences and learning from each other. Giving grace for mothering the best we can. We're not here to judge each other. We're here to support each other in whatever decisions that we make. No one's perfect, but we're here to support our imperfect selves. At Connecting Mamas, we embrace grace to connect and support each other as we identify and live our passions. And so I offer you, if you come to Connecting Mamas, if you come click the free gift, you will get the free access to all 7 letters with 1 quick video and an activity for each letters just to get familiar with them. And if you want even more information, you can come to Connecting Mamas and click the check-in call and get a free 30-minute call on how to check in, a personal check-in, and we can go through that together and create a plan for you. So if you want to come do either one of those things. And on that note, here's the website again, and the blog is on there as well. But as we start off this way, we have to end this way. So some of you had the feelings in the beginning. Did they change? They shift? They stay the same? Did some of this resonate with you and cause a shift in you? Because remember, we can create those shifts by what we choose to expose ourselves to. So by coming here and learning from other moms, you are putting yourself in a different shift, right? You're giving yourself that opportunity to learn and grow. And we honestly feel better as humans when that's what we're doing. And so we check in to where we're at. Did this resonate with you? Do you feel like you moved somewhere on this chart? And that's what we're asking ourselves. We're not trying to say, oh, well, I feel enraged right now, so I should beat myself up for it. No, I'm going to identify it and decide what I want to do about it. Okay. So just remember that these are check-in points. And Umayal said the same thing as well. I feel like we had a lot of things parallel because it really is about checking in. And remember that it's awareness. The first step is awareness. And the more you check in with yourself, the quicker actually you start to realize I'm still going to get enraged. I'm still going to get angry at the kids, but it passes quicker. Or I can identify, because I've been more proactive, I can identify ways to move past it quicker, or what I need to do and model for my kids how to walk away, things like that. And they start to do it as well. And we have less of it. Still going to happen, but it's how much do we respond versus react? We really want to respond more. So I want to leave you with that. And after celebrating, Marjie's ready to party. Yay. So, okay. So thank you all for joining me. I'm going to stop share as soon as I find my button. And I'm so glad that you guys were able to join us on a workshop for moms today. And it was a pleasure. Are there any questions on this from you ladies? Nope, we're all good.
I just have a comment, Michelle, on how wonderful that is. I don't know. It just, as soon as I see your face, I get flashbacks to, your Connecting Moms program that I went through with you, and you talk about, making a safe environment for us, and there's where the connection happens. And I mean, I've been to hundreds and hundreds of presentations from transformation energy people, and I feel it. I'm quite a bit of an empath actually, and I kind of feel the energy, but I never got that connection ever that I did in your group. When we light the candles and then you get us up on the screen, how many of us were there? 6 or whatever. And we were connected, so I just, every time I see your face now, I just feel that connection. I get flashbacks, but wonderful flashbacks. And the curiosity, I think I'm a curiosity freak, and we all really have to be, you get curious. Like, curiosity to me is right up there with gratitude. If you get yourself on a gratitude level, there's no place for negativity, right? And the same thing, if you get yourself curious, it's another delicious distraction to get your energy up there. And the smiling part was great. I love you to the moon and back. That was excellent. Thank you.
I love you. I can't wait till Sunday. We're going to reignite the circle. And that's the whole point of my course, is that we create these circles, but then teaching them how to go off on their own, because I don't want that to end.
No, we've never, well, none of us do. Thanks, dear.
But the curiosity, I love how that point about it is, because once you start with that point of curiosity, rather than, like, for instance, if my husband didn't do something I wanted, right? Rather than attacking or that nagging feeling, it's like when you're more curious, you start just asking gentle questions, and you get to understanding, and you realize, oh, he heard something completely different. He didn't even hear what I said. And you're already mad. You were mad until you start asking it differently, and you go in with a different avenue when you have that curiosity. And even with your kids, you're like, oh, they didn't do their homework or what? When you start like asking smaller questions and more like, what are you working on right now? And all of a sudden they're like, oh, I'm doing this because I finished this. And like, I'm going to get to this after. And they go, oh, they're about to get to their homework without me even having to remind them, because I ask things in a different way versus just like, oh, I'm going to do this. And so that curiosity really does open you up when you start asking more questions and giving you connection. Because as soon as, the one thing I like to do is say is, when you're at the grocery store or you're at Starbucks, and to ask someone a question or give them a compliment, because a lot of times you have those ideas in your head, but you're like, oh, I'm not going to say that to that person. Or someone walks by in a really pretty dress or whatever it is, and just take those out of your head, say them out loud. The smiles you get in response, even if it's just a smile from that person, that's just a connection for them. And you get into that habit of just being more open of who you want to be. And you have these thoughts that are so generous and nice, share them. Ask another question. You never know where that conversation is going to take you.
The 2 things that spoke to me from your presentation, which was, by the way, spectacular. Really, bravo. It was really well thought out, well documented, and extremely practical. From a big picture standpoint, the self-care is really incredibly important. And to your point, baby steps are fine, and then eventually you'll find yourself booking yourself an hour massage every week. Which would be wonderful. And something that kind of related to my world was, you know, if we can bring this full circle to the beginning of our time together. Because it's another way you said, look for the curiosity in your children. And that's another way of saying, look for the sunshine in your children. Because when you're feeling really burnt out with the 15 balls in the air, and you don't know which way is up or what corner to start from, and you just need to chill. Sometimes if you just look at your kid and watch what lights them up, it's contagious. And that's what I got from you when you say, you know, traditionally curiosity has been burnt out in us until the time that we get to become adults, we're not curious anymore, and to look to our children to reignite that. I think that that is a wonderful way of saying kind of the same thing. Look for the sunshine in your children, because that sunshine will shine on you too.
So true. I mean, just even like the baby smiling, like what your kids are doing when they're lit up by something. A lot of times we miss those who are so busy with the task at hand that we're not looking for it or recognizing it. So when we're putting the intention out to look for it, we will start to see it more. All of a sudden, like my daughter's excited by something, I'm in the middle of something, I'm like, I just automatically put it down without even thinking about it now, because I've made more of a habit of it, of looking for what she's excited by it and giving her my full attention, if that be the case. Or even if I can at that moment, saying, give me 1 minute, give me 5 minutes, and I'll be right in there, right? But it's really that habit. We've made habits of who we are. We don't realize it. And so now let's take stock of what we want and move forward with that. And there's no judgment on it. It's just, let's be intentional about now. Like now that you have that idea in your mind, where do I want to be? And make that intentionality about it. And that's what it's all about. It's figuring that out and acknowledging where you're at. No judgment. Let's just decide. And if you're happy with who you're at, and that's great. Again, no judgment. Just be intentional with your life. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today for Workshop for Moms. It was a pleasure, and it was great to share the stage with both Umayal and Marjie. And maybe you want to finish off the night for us, Umayal, as our host.
Yeah, I would like to thank all of you who joined us today, or you're going to see in the replay. And really, you're going to have like so many tips from the speaker, from Marjie and from Michelle. This was like a great show, and I really thank you for joining us today. Mm-hmm.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Love you.
Mm-hmm.
Bye.